Today we're looking at the Lend-Lease Act. Hello, welcome to the Daily Bellringer. Please don't forget to subscribe and take a look at the questions down in the description. Also, don't forget to check out dailybellringer.com where you'll find more resources that go with many of the Bellringer videos. The Lend-Lease Act was an important policy that helped the United States support its allies during World War II before officially entering the war. Passed by the United States Congress in March of 1941, the act allowed the U.S. to send weapons, supplies, food, and equipment to countries that were fighting against the Axis powers. These countries included the United Kingdom, the Soviet Union, China, and others. The program played a major role in helping these nations to continue to fight. At the beginning of World War II in 1939, the United States attempted to stay neutral. Many Americans believed the country should avoid another war after the heavy losses of the First World War. However, as war spread across Europe and Asia, it became clear that the Allies needed help. Countries like the United Kingdom were fighting hard but were running out of money and supplies. By early 1941, Britain had already spent an estimated $1.5 billion buying weapons and supplies from the United States. If Britain ran out of resources, it might have been forced to surrender to Germany. President Franklin D. Roosevelt, or FDR, believed that helping the Allies was important for the safety and national security of the United States. He argued that if countries like Britain fell to the Axis powers, the United States might eventually face those enemies alone. Roosevelt compared the policy to lending a neighbor a garden hose to put out a fire. You would not sell the hose to your neighbor, you would lend it so the fire would not spread to your own house. Because of this idea, in January of 1941, Roosevelt asked Congress to pass the Lend-Lease Act. The law allowed the United States to lend or lease military equipment and supplies to nations whose defense was considered important to American security. This meant that the Allies could receive weapons and materials without paying immediately. They could return the equipment later, replace it, or provide other support after the war. After much debate, the bill was passed by Congress and signed into law by FDR on March 11, 1941. The Lend-Lease program sent huge amounts of supplies around the world. The United States provided tanks, airplanes, trucks, guns, ammunition, and warships. It also sent food, clothing, fuel, and raw materials. In total, the United States provided more than $50 billion worth of aid during the war. The United Kingdom received the largest amount, but the Soviet Union also received large shipments, especially after Germany invaded it in the summer of 1941. The supplies from Lend-Lease were very important to the Allied war effort. For example, American trucks helped the Soviet Army move soldiers and equipment quickly across long distances. Food shipments helped feed both soldiers and civilians in war-torn areas. Weapons and aircraft strengthened the ability of Allied forces to fight against Germany, Italy, and Japan. Although the United States was still officially neutral when the act passed, the program showed that the country was in strong support of the Allies. Many Americans were concerned that the act gave FDR too much power and that the U.S. would now get involved in conflicts around the world, sending everything except troops themselves to fight. FDR hoped that by sending materials, it would help avoid the need to send American troops to fight. Many Americans, however, worried that the policy would eventually pull the United States into World War II. Those concerns became reality after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7th of 1941. After that attack, the United States officially joined World War II. Even after the United States entered the war, the Lend-Lease program continued to supply Allied nations. The flow of American equipment and resources helped strengthen cooperation among the Allied powers and allowed them to fight more effectively on many different fronts. The Lend-Lease Act was a major turning point in the early years of World War II. It allowed the United States to support its allies before officially entering the conflict. By sending weapons, supplies, and food to countries fighting the Axis powers, the United States helped keep those nations in the war during a critical time. The program showed how cooperation and shared resources could help nations work together against a common enemy. Because of its large impact on the war effort, the Lend-Lease Act is remembered as one of the most important policies used by the United States during World War II. So with that, hopefully you learned something, and thanks for watching.